Morning, everyone. I'm not Dave Scott. That's Dave Scott. I'm Mike Sandiford. I head up our partnerships for Horsefly, and here today to sort of just do a bit of an intro, really, and talk about what we're doing with Nationwide and how Nationwide are using our platform to make some better insights around what they do. So I thought I'd start off with just a bit of fact, really, around that big word, big data. 50% of the Earth's population is now on social media, so 2.789 billion people. And what's even more interesting is that 90% of all the data that's ever been created in the world has actually been created in the last 2 years. And that's mostly down to the likes of the Internet of Things, which is only going to continue to grow. And the really scary thing of all of that, and part of the reason we're here with Nationwide today, is that we're only analysing 0.5% of all of the data that is out there in the world. So 60 seconds in our online world in numbers. So there are 3.3 million, probably mostly cat videos, posted on Facebook every minute. 65,000 Instagram photos, people's dogs and what they're having for dinner. And 448,000 tweets are conducted. So and more than 120 people are joining LinkedIn every minute. So why is that relevant to today? As I said, just a brief intro on what we do. So we are a talent analytics platform. We are aggregating data from the social web to pull together some meaningful insights to help you as organizations make better decisions and have a competitive advantage in the marketplace. So some of the things that we do around skill sets, competitor analysis, supply and demand, some of your salary, and that's, as I said, pulled from the likes of social media. We're a global business, but that's it from me. What I really want to do is pass over to Dave, because Dave's going to talk about how Nationwide are using that data. He's asked me to stay up here because if anyone needs a translator, Dave is from the West Country. And I feel okay saying that. I went to school in Devizes, so I can mock him slightly for his West Country accent. But thanks very much, and I'll pass you over to Dave.
Okay, thank you. Great stuff. Morning, everyone. As Mike mentioned, I'm very farmery, so try and bear with me. I'll try and be clear. But in terms of myself, I've been with Nationwide for 7 years, and specifically talking to you about something that happened for us as a business kind of 12 months ago. So if I bring you onto this slide, we actually did a massive announcement roughly 12 months ago now regarding our tech strategy and our big investment. So you can see some of the stuff up here. It's quite staggering what we committed to as a business, which is an additional 1.3 billion into our technology, taking a total of 4.1 billion over 5 years. A technical transformation. So this is the stuff that kind of really interests me, and I think is great to see where we're trying to take it on as a business, and that's agile adoption, trying to do things quicker. DevOps standards, again, trying to improve our ways of working. Cloud exploitation, all of that really good. I think 1,000 new jobs. I don't know about you guys, but as recruiters, that's exciting. That's something I want to be involved with. And we opened a new UK technology hub, which again, we wanted to promote and be able to look at. The core focus of the strategy was to drive service leadership through digitization and multi-channel technology. And latest in line of technology investments, including largest SAP core banking. So for me, this was exciting. I love a visual, so apologies, you have to bear with me during this. But for me, there was a big reason it was exciting, and that is the ambition and the drive. And this was Nationwide basically saying, yes, we have our traditional competitors, the likes of HSBC, Lloyds, Barclays, those kind of guys. But what we're actually reacting to is the challenger banks, the fintechs, the guys that are coming into the market and doing things at pace. Those guys are able to get products to market lightning quick. We often joke about it when we're doing kind of recruitment ourselves, because everyone in the room, someone's normally got a Monzo card, because Monzo's so popular in terms of being able to create current accounts. So for me, that was a really good change of direction by the business. I think the fact it was the largest scale project I've ever seen in my 7 years at Nationwide. So again, I was keen to get involved with it. We wanted to bring in our own people and replace statement of works and day rate contractors. Again, something I'd be passionate about for us to do more via our own channels and our own routes. So to start off with, I was mega excited. Those that haven't been to Swindon, this is a live photo. But no, this was kind of the shock, and the reality for me was I'm excited and I'm involved, and then I was kind of like, oh, now I've got to find 1,000 people in Swindon that are architects, that are engineers, that are data professionals. And I started thinking, oh God, how are we going to do this? This will be a real massive challenge. So I'm going to talk through how we kind of used Horsefly to be able to influence stuff moving forward here. So when this kind of got announced, the head of tech recruitment at the time, a gentleman called Spencer, he basically held a team huddle. So he talked through all the kind of exciting stuff that was going on, all that we were trying to do in terms of competing with the fintechs, how we were trying to bring in new exciting tech that will attract people and want people to come. And he let slip in kind of this meeting that the tech hub, Oxford and Bristol were the proposed locations. For me, that was a bit of a concern. And I'll explain some context behind that, because I don't want it to come across as it's a football rivalry and I just dislike those places. It's definitely not. It's very much a case of we've recruited in Bristol for UX guys for the past couple of years and struggled a bit. And we also did some MI recently on Swindon, which pulled in Oxford, which again didn't seem like the solution to our problems. So for me, I was keen to kind of follow up after that team huddle, just to understand what if I could influence that decision. So basically, I spoke to the head of tech recruitment and said, look, is it too late to influence this decision? I think from my side, it felt a bit concerning that they seemed that far advanced and they hadn't pulled on us and used our kind of data. And it was during that spell that I think probably the most worrying thing came through for me, because that was that we were using a property company to give us recruitment on recruitment market intelligence. One of the crazy kind of stats I remember from that was they were like, there's 150 architects and business analysts in Oxford. Architects and business analysts, that's a very different skill set. So is there 149 business analysts and one architect? So for me, I wanted to provide some more substance. So I asked, how do we get involved? How can we directly influence this decision? And Spencer, to his credit, the head of tech recruitment, he said, absolutely, let me loop you into the project. It was Project Seattle, it was called, and I met up with the project lead after that. The project lead, I talked him through what Horsefly can provide, and I'll go on to show you an example of that pack, but basically, the kind of stuff that it provides in there, it gives us stuff like candidate density, it gives us stuff like competitor analysis, it gives us stuff like academic background, gender splits, experience. I think all of those things were key call-outs when we're trying to look at where we can potentially put our new tech hub. So off the back of that discussion with the project lead, I created kind of detailed breakdowns around all the required skill sets. So that was for 12 separate UK locations. So we did it roughly within an hour and a half of Swindon. So the kind of locations, so stuff like Southampton, London, Reading, Oxford, Bristol, all of those, just to kind of give them a clear indication of where we should be taking this, and then kind of providing a recommendation off the back of that. So how do we get buy-in? We said up front, you need to have choice. We need you to get a list of target locations. Let's offer you a suggestion of cities, a suggestion of towns close by where we could potentially find that tech talent. As I said, that was a whole variety of places, whether that be on the south coast, whether that be down in the southeast, down towards London, whether that be in and around Swindon, whether it be Oxford or Bristol, and then kind of present to them the variety, give them choice. Retrieve a list of the skill sets. So that was a kind of key call out. I think for us, the majority of our tech hiring is across kind of, I would predominantly say engineering, architecture, data and analytics, those types of areas. So the packs that I created were off the back of those particular skill sets, so that we could demonstrate in each town and in each city which ones had the best candidates and the most available. The creation of the research packs, that was demonstrating the candidate density. When you see that stuff, I think it's quite powerful. I don't know about you guys, but often when I'm sat in front of a hiring manager, there's that kind of delusion that CVs fall on our laps, and it's just easy to recruit. And I think for me, the research pack's actually able to provide some good information behind it. And I think when you're doing stuff like candidate density, actually there's more jobs than there is candidates. how easy is your job to fill it? It makes it really tough. Also, likewise, competitor analysis. Again, just understanding what's around you and the academic stuff, academic background as well. At the end of that, I provided a recommendation at the end of the packs in terms of which locations I felt were viable. For me, it was more southeasterly. Reading probably being the #1 choice, and then London as well being an option after that, just so that we have more candidates to choose from and a new area to look at. Useful skill sets in large transformation. Again, I think probably a lot of people in the room as experienced tech recruitment professionals know the various things we come across now. I think I needed a lot of convincing. I've only been doing tech recruitment for 10 months, but the first few interviews I heard about Cucumber, Guacamole, Puppet, and I was like, to the hiring manager, are these things real? Are these actual systems? And they talked me through what it is. And I think you do pick up a lot on that. And I think, again, with Horsefly, I think one of the great things is when you create the reports, it creates keywords off the back of it. So you can link in and learn other systems that you haven't found out about in a briefing that could be good, that you could transition across. So again, from my side, that was really interesting. I thought that was good to do. And I'm going to show you an example pack now of a full stack developer, just so you can kind of see the kind of research packs that we created. So this is how candidate density looks. So it provides you a good visual on the right here, and then adding some commentary along the side. So actually, from their initial recommendations, Bristol actually had good candidates available per role for a full stack developer. Also Reading, where my recommendation came, had a strong response. But then if we look at Swindon and Oxford, again, that's where the real challenges are, because these aren't active candidates. These are all candidates. So for us, that shows the kind of challenges that we're all up against in terms of being able to find it, because we're not the only people recruiting for these roles, right? Everyone in the room, we could all be competing against each other. So if we're going after such a tiny candidate pool, it becomes a real challenge. So I find probably this one is my most valuable slide that I use from Horsefly, because it's actual tangible data that says to them, we're going to struggle here. Then if move on, I think it's got some good other features as well. You can see up there the gender, so if you're doing a D&I campaign, that can be really useful to look at. We can see the experience breakdown. I think it's always interesting to know the type of populations that you're after, whether there is an entry-level market if you're going after that, whether it is more experienced hires you're going to look at. And then the universities. I think a clever feature of Horsefly is telling you the academic background. I think being able to see where your candidates came from initially is really quite interesting. It also shows you competitor analysis. So we can see some of the companies we're up against there in terms of Sky. For us, that's probably quite hard for us as a building society. Are we as cool as them? Are we as interesting? So how do we get our brand across? And in terms of that, Deutsche Bank, obviously another financial services, and British Gas and other people, which is, again, just gives us a good flavour about who we're up against. Sorry, I told you I like a visual, apologies. So what did we learn from it? Challenges we could face in terms of candidate density. As I said, for me, that's the most powerful slide. That's basically saying you guys are recommending Oxford, you guys are recommending Bristol. They're actually going to be tough areas. They're not going to answer our problems for what Swindon's already providing us. I'm a proud Swindonian, as Mike joked about with my accent, very West Country, but we aren't going to find 1,000 people there. It's not going to happen, and I felt the same with Oxford and Bristol. So it was a good slide to pull together. The experience levels. I think the experience levels are really important, and the reason that I think they're important is you have to flag up front. Again, I don't know about you guys, but I've got some hiring managers that will say, I only want to pay to mid-range. Wow, you've got a full range to pay from. This kind of data is showing me that all of these people are experienced. They're not going to accept mid-range. So you need to know this up front. You're going to have to use the full range. The types of companies we'd be up against. So the competitor analysis is important. As I said, from the call out Sky, are Sky more interesting in us? Are they more exciting? How does our brand compare to those? And I think probably that's when we start to look at stuff for us more like our mutual purpose, our kind of, as a business, how we care about members, how we care about customers, and that's how we try and drive our brand campaigns. The academic background, so in the event we may need to grow our own talent, that's hugely important. If we get the MI from Horsefly and some of the universities are more local to us, UWE in Bristol, Bath University, they're doing courses that our tech professionals are using, then we should be plugging into that university. We should be going and presenting in front of their students and want to be an employer of choice when those guys graduate. So for me, again, it's a really important part of it. And now kind of the final bit from my side is the direct benefits of insights. I think there's a lot to be said in terms of being more consultative. As I said, I think wrongfully we probably at times don't get the respect we deserve as recruiters, and I think being able to go with actual commentary, actual recommendations off the back of something that we've gone away and done our research on, I think is really positive. Tangible data to add weight to any recruitment discussions. So being able to go to them and say, for example, the diversity one, which I'll come on to at the end, you want a 50% diversity split. If I actually look at the whole of the UK, there's only 10% of this skill set that is female. How are we going to do that? How are we going to grow it? The visuals are good. So with Horsefly, those slides you saw, that converts into a PDF with very little work from our side. We just plug the skill sets in, and then it creates the report, and we're able to pass that report on. So again, lightens our load maybe from that side. The competitor analysis to do targeted campaigns for headhunting. So I look after the talent acquisition team at Nationwide. So my guys use it to look at where the talent exists currently and then go back on LinkedIn and the likes to be able to approach those people and go after those people. And if I think about diversity in particular, which you can filter on within Horsefly, so you can just search on females to understand who's doing it well, we can then do that and approach people from that company because we know they've done it well, to see if we can find them. And I'd say just kind of a personal shout out from working with the guys, Simon in particular, who's kind of our account manager. The guys, it's a proper partnership. We don't pay over the top for what we get. They produce reports for us when we're too busy. They go out their way to support us with additional searches and reports. So for us, it's a really good kind of thing that we've got with them at the moment. But in terms of myself, I'm going to hand back to Mike for the final slide.
Thanks, Dave. Yeah, last slide really, and I kind of want to go right back to the beginning when we talked about data in the world and why I was showing some of those slides. So data, information, knowledge, insight, wisdom, and impact. Data is what's out there. We've talked about that. As a business, we start taking that information and running that through with machine learning. The insights and the wisdom are coming from the people using it. So that's why data, knowledge, and people is what's actually creating the impact, because data on its own and a platform or technology that you use is useless without actually putting it into practice, and how can that make an impact for you as a business. So a big thanks for everyone listening. Thank you to Dave and some of the team that are here today for sharing their story. And yeah, any questions?
Excellent. Thank you both very much.